Hello and welcome to Eastenders Weekly, your one and only weekly podcast dedicated to Eastenders. This week we'll be talking about episodes from the 26th of February to the 2nd of March. I'm Ben and I'm here with Alex. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So we've got lots to talk about this week. Been very busy, haven't we?
The show has been we've been busy. The show's been busy. Everything's been busy.
It has. Lots to get into. Yeah. So we're going to go right into it, I'm afraid.
Get straight into it.
No chance for
no niceties.
So we're going to start off talking about the storyline this week with Martin, Stacey and Haley. Because we found out finally who Haley is, didn't we, at the end of Tuesday's episode?
My prediction was wrong.
It wasn't. Mine too. Way off.
I was way off.
It was the obvious answer, which none of us were predicting. So
it was another Slater.
A cousin. So we don't know who her mum or dad is or why she's there, but we know that she is a Slater. What's Haley been doing this week?
Well, she's continuing her charm offensive on Martin to try to get Martin to fall for her and help Stacey lose his kids and help Stacey along. Stacey got a letter from his solicitor today on Monday, and she wasn't very happy. She thought she'd made a deal with Martin that they could see the kids on a diary basis from time to time.
Well, I never thought I'd feel sorry for Martin.
I know. It's not been very fair on Martin.
He hasn't actually done anything wrong.
No, he's not done anything wrong.
This all started from Stacey sleeping with Max on Christmas Eve, and now all of a sudden it's Martin's fault, and he shouldn't have any of the kids.
It's almost an old Slater tradition, isn't it? That woe is us, and it's someone else's fault, never their own. It's a shame with Stacey, because Stacey was beginning to become a bit of an old boot character, wasn't she? She was slowly becoming almost like Pauline, exactly. And so it's probably for the best that she's now becoming back to the old ways of Stacey. The old slapper.
Well, we've got a new slapper now. Is Haley?
Yes, well, but it's a Slater, so it's a thing.
Do you think she's related to Stacey through Kyle? Stacey's brother who was in it last year, the transgender. He had two sisters.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe that's why.
Could be.
Although then I don't know if she'd be a Slater. Who do you think sent Haley to Stacey? Because Stacey didn't know who she was, did she? Until she whispered something in her ear. We also obviously now know that she whispered, I'm a Slater.
I'm your cousin.
I'm family. Family. So who do you think has sent Haley on this mission?
Well,
Stacey's had a few phone calls with people.
Yes, so. But it's been with Kat, hasn't it? She's been talking to Kat.
Well, we don't know it's Kat.
Well, I think
because Kat's returning storyline is something to do with everyone thinks Kat's dead, so it can't be Kat, can it?
Oh God, everyone thinks. So is she still in Ireland then? In Spin-off City?
She's in Redwater, yes.
Redwater.
Because Redwater took place this year. So even though it showed last year, it was something like that. It took place somewhere in the future, like a year in the future.
Oh,
so it's not that's why no one's mentioned it yet.
Oh,
I think.
Right.
So it's not technically happening, or it's happening now, so...
Okay. So as of in the fictional world of EastEnders, what's happened last year in Redwater is now happening.
I think so.
In
something
real
like
life.
That. There was a few months difference.
Right.
Obviously, I think what I read is that Kat's return storyline is that everyone thinks she's dead or something.
All right. Oh, well then...
So it can't be Kat who she was on the phone to.
Is it the other one returning? Jean? Big Mo or Jean, yeah? Sausage surprise.
It was quite a surprise.
It would be a surprise if she had a sausage. Well, you would presume that it would be one of the returning members of the Slater family.
Sent Haley
I'm
over.
surprised that she didn't know that she had a cousin. Or that I suppose she has never met her cousin. Maybe she didn't know she had a cousin.
That's why I think it may be to do with Kyle, because she didn't know. That was the big secret around her neck a few years ago, wasn't it? The key.
Oh yes, the
opened
key.
the box.
When she flushed down the toilet.
Yeah, that was very good. I remember that.
Yeah, well, it's stuck in your mind.
It was good until we found out what it was.
Yes.
Then it was a bit of a downfall. But I mean, what do you think of Haley as a character?
I really like Haley.
She's good, isn't she?
Yeah, no,
She's interesting.
She's interesting. She has got she's come in with a bang, which is what you want from a new character.
New villain.
Yeah, well, you say villain.
Well, I don't know, because they tried to make...
Heart with a heart.
Oh, yeah. And they tried to make Stacey almost be like, oh, I feel sorry for Martin, what you've done to him. And she was like, no, you should be quiet.
Yeah, shut up. Look what he's done to you. Look what he's done. Again, as going full circle, Martin's not done anything wrong. I don't know why the claws are out for Martin, because an amicable agreement has been made. Yes, there was the solicitor's letter, but it was all wrapped up quite quickly that he had, but obviously the letter had already been sent through, which seems reasonable to me. And
very odd. Poor Martin.
Well, I don't know why they're trying to get full custody. It just doesn't seem to make any sense. They have to live on that square together.
2 doors down.
They're not that far from
Martin's
each other.
living in Dot's house with Sonia. Do you think they're going to attempt a Sonia and Martin reunion? Back to the 90s? That's what it's about at the moment.
Back to the 90s.
Or will Sonia be a lesbian again?
She's like Tina, and they can't make their minds up.
No.
I hope not. I don't want that to happen. Sonia, I tell you what, she's doing well, isn't she, on the square? She's Is
she?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that. So, where do you think this storyline is going to be heading? Where's the end direction? Is it just setting up the return for the Slater house? Who are going to be living in Pat's old house, are they?
Well, so everyone's going to live in that house, are they? All the Slaters.
So, yeah. Do you think that's what it's building up to?
Well, who lives in the house that they used to live in? Is that where Jack lives now?
No, Jack lives in Ronnie and Roxy's old house.
So who lives in the old Slater's house? Or is Pat's?
I think the old Slater house has been turned into flats now.
Is that what used to be not Jack Branning? Branning's. Is that what used to be Max Branning's old house? Because that's got turned into two.
Well.
But they're not flats; they're bed sits.
Yeah.
Because that's where.
I'm not sure. We'll have to have a look at the map of Walford and see what's been turned into what.
Yes.
I know a few of them have been turned into flats. I'm sure the Slater house has been. And that's where Whitney had her bed sit with
that's it.
Lee.
Whitney's bed sit with Lee.
Which has never been seen since.
That was Max's old house that he turned into the bed sits that they became. Oh yeah, so
because Stacey's in Pat's old house at the moment.
But she's renting, isn't she?
Yeah. Everyone.
So who owns? Well, I know it's rented. Who owns Pat's house then? Who's the legal owner? Is it
Mr. Papadopoulos?
Janine.
No, I don't know. Yeah, Janine.
Yeah,
Janine
owns it, doesn't it?
Because she that's why she came back when Pat was dying.
Right.
Because she was threatening to chuck her out.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
One of the biggest mistakes made was killing off Pat.
Well, that's
apart from killing off Abbie. Of course, the great.
Just let it go.
The great Lorna Fitzgerald.
Let it go.
Well, no, later on in the show we'll be talking more about Abbie actually, because we had a chance to spend an hour with Lorna Fitzgerald and Anita Dobson, and they talked about old EastEnders, new EastEnders. So we'll talk about that later.
Yes,
exclusive. The other storylines going on this week, we had a sort of half comedy, half serious storyline of Kim and Denise with their DNA results. The storyline that no one asked for is now being wrapped up in a neat little package.
Kim's daughter Pearl got found out again for more of her.
She keeps
stealing,
taking everything, doesn't she?
Kim had to explain.
Watch out for her in the future.
Yeah, well, there's more to come, isn't there? Because she's hidden a few things. Out of eyes, out of mind. She hid it in her bag, didn't she? She hid the DNA results in her bag.
Yes.
And Kim found it and wanted to open it with Denise, and she came prepared. She got it all set up, ready to meet at the cafe.
She went to the Minute March.
To get a
two
birthday card to celebrate if you were sisters, and sorry, your dead card if she wasn't sisters, because that's all the Minute Marts. Again, Minute Mart supply chain. It's just disgraceful.
Honey made a comment, or maybe I should have sympathy cards because there's so many deaths in the area.
Yes, which was a very dry
and
joke.
I've noticed this week there's been lots of references of EastEnders being a TV show.
It's almost meta.
Yeah, because they made obviously Honey said the joke about the cards and lots of murders in the area, and Tiffany also said something to Bernadette along those lines, almost referencing that it is a show. So it's almost sort of fourth wall breaking comedy.
Yeah, it's also they seem to be doing a lot more comic lines, one-liners, not so much comic setups. Like you say, observant of themselves. They're
actually making people laugh.
Which is
surprising.
I laughed out loud on a couple of occasions, which I was quite pleased to see. But it's nice that I quite like that they're doing this. They're kind of almost looking at themselves from the outside and making a comment on what's happening, like you say, as if it's meta. That they're in a show, which is nice actually. I long it continue.
Kim and Denise found out that they are indeed sisters.
Celebrated with a cheap bottle from the Minute Mart.
It was a bottle of champagne taken from the Minute Mart to the B&B, from the B&B to Vincent and Kim's house.
Yeah, they seem to walk around the square with just these glasses of champagne.
If Sharon was there, it wouldn't have lasted that long.
If Sharon was there, we wouldn't need a glass. You just drink it straight out of the bottle.
Oh, Sharon's gone missing this week.
And we're another week without Sharon. I'm not happy. Yeah. As this was happening, obviously this is something we'll be talking about later. But it was mentioned on 2 or 3 occasions that the Queen Vic had been raided by the police, and Kathy said it. And again, another nice moment where Kathy said. Because normally, obviously, whenever someone says, "Oh, the Vic's being raided," or something's happening here in the square, people's reaction is straight away that they need to respond to it. And it was nice that it was written that Kathy said, "Oh, it's been raided," and Kathy was like, "Oh, that's nice, Kathy. That's interesting, Kathy." Again, I really enjoyed that.
So,
Denise and Kim becoming sisters. Denise wasn't keen to find out. She said it'll just ruin their relationship, and there's no point us opening it. And Kim said, "No, you're right. This is another one of Mum's kind of getting in our heads. That she always tries to get in our heads. Let's destroy it." So they, as you said, took their bottle of champagne, their 2 champagne flutes, to Vincent and Kim's house, where she has a shredder. Again, she made a kind of joke that this
only
is where
the bank statements.
Yeah, the bank statements, but she doesn't open them unread, which is really a glaring mistake on her behalf now, because if she should be looking at them a bit more closely.
To watch her pennies now.
Yeah, she needs to watch her pennies. And they were about to shred it, and then Patrick came in. And Kim didn't answer the door to her own house. Denise answered the door, and as she answered it, Kim opened the door and found out whether they were sisters or not. I don't know about you, but I know it was a bit of a storyline that everyone had forgotten about. It was almost just shoehorned in because it was like, oh yeah, we did do that. Okay, we'll quickly add it to the thing.
Yeah,
but
I'm surprised they brought it back up, because it had been long enough that people had forgotten that it even was mentioned.
But I liked the way it was done. It was nice to have a look into, because Denise and Kim are sisters, but you don't really have a very good insight on how. It'd be nice for them to do more with Kim and Denise together, because together, the 2 actresses together, brilliant. They bounce off each other fantastically.
I wonder if they're going to bring a storyline of why the mum made that lie up, or if that's just that now. Is that the end of the storyline? They've had their letter, and they're not going to ask their mum why she made that random lie up.
But I don't think the mum knew it was a lie. I think she obviously it was her way of saying I slept with other. It
was a different storyline, I think, originally by the old producer. So obviously, that's something that will never be known.
And again, it's another example of the old producer being erased out of the history of EastEnders. It's I think sometimes you should embrace your mistakes, not necessarily just forget them.
No.
The overall standard of EastEnders this week has been a much noted improvement. There's a couple of episodes, especially Friday's episode, where I afterwards thought, well, actually, that was that was
good
effort. But the Denise and Kim, like I say, I hope that they're doing something with them too now as a storyline. That maybe with the Vincent thing happening, maybe Vincent can go off and do his own thing, and maybe give Kim and Denise maybe an interesting storyline together. Like I say, the 2 actresses bounce off perfectly together, and I think whatever they would do would be gold. It'd be nice to see.
Yeah, because we also noticed the camera work this week. Has changed, hasn't it? They seem to be doing lots of slow zooms and close-up shots, and things. So.
Yes, when a revelation is happening, a zoom kind of comes in slowly. It's quite tacky, but at the same time it works.
Yeah,
it's a stock thing to do. Normally with EastEnders and with a lot of soaps, they take one cut and they would do it. They would only take that one cut and cut ad hoc whilst it's being performed. It looks as though they've taken a couple of takes, put it in the editing room and cut them two together rather than doing one take that's been cut ad hoc on the scene, which is a bit strange, especially since they have to do the output very quickly for a soap.
Yes, well, we learnt about that, didn't we?
We did.
From Abbie.
But
more on that later.
More on that later. Have we got you gripped? Yeah, we got you gripped. And I liked it. It was nice to see it. They were trying something a bit new. You know, there's sometimes trying something a bit different isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, and so the way they're filming, different angles, the camera setup, it seems to be a bit more thought being put into it, which is considerate, I suppose. As a viewer, they're considering maybe making it less of a soap or a bit more of a drama. More of a drama, but. The writing seems to have been improved slightly as well.
Slightly.
Well, no, it's
getting there.
Polish a turd.
So, speaking of new things, this week we're introducing a new segment.
Oh yes,
of I'm Doing This Now.
Well, yes,
it is. So this is where we look back on characters who have recently left EastEnders and letting everyone know what they're up to, what projects they've got, what books or cookbooks or plays or whatever they're doing. So we're going to have a look at the most recent storyline that ended, which was the big storyline last year of Wilmot Brown, wasn't it?
Kick off with a bang. We're going to kick off with a special, as it were. And
I'm doing this now special.
I'm doing this now special. I've entitled it "The Fallout of the Plague of the Wilmot Browns."
And Sean O'Connor.
Right, so as you all know, the family of the Wilmot Browns came into the plot just to shake things up a little bit, and then left very shaky.
Back Wilmot Brown, it was the biggest gap from a character leaving the show and appearing again in any soap history.
Oh, that's interesting. Same actor. When did he leave? 93, 94?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's just a little Wilmot Brown fact for you.
So obviously, thank you. So obviously, there's James Wilmot Brown, played by William Boyd. There's Fee Browning, played by Lisa Faulkner.
Yes.
Luke Browning, played by Adam Astill, and Josh Hemmings, played by Eddie Eyre.
Well, we're all dying to know where Luke is. I mean, where's he gone?
Well, yes. Well, we'll start with Luke. Luke obviously upset a lot of people on the square. He had a relationship with Ben, which ended up being quite destructive. Yeah. And basically, he was last seen bundled into a van while Phil watched on ominously.
That's where Aiden first came into it, wasn't it? Because it was a favour that Phil got from Aiden, and Aiden got rid of him. So.
Right.
But where's Luke?
Where
is Luke?
Is he another candidate for the Aiden storyline?
I don't know. You need to tell me how busy he is.
Well, anyway, he's quite busy at the moment. He was recently photographed. Adam was recently photographed with the actor Ben.
Oh, was he?
Yes, on Instagram they had a photograph taken together. He's also in a new CBBC show called Andy's Safari Adventures.
Oh my goodness.
So turn that on, give that a go.
Is that a spin-off with Ben and Luke?
No.
Is that where Ben's gone?
Yeah, that's where Luke's been taken. He's been put in a crate and taken to the zoo. He's also in an up-and-coming thriller called Kill Ben Like. So keep an ears out on that one. But yes, if you want to see a bit of Adam action straight away, tune into the CBBC channel. It's a 10-part, I believe, children's adventure show. So
lovely.
Fun. Let's talk about Fee then. So that was played by Lisa Faulkner. And Fee, after handing in evidence to convict her father, gave back the deeds to everyone on the square.
Apart from the Vic.
Apart from the Vic.
Where they had to pay for it back.
Which they're now in a lot of trouble in at the moment. But
the last time we saw Fee was when her father was on his deathbed, wasn't it? I think Christmas Eve.
Yes, well, we'll discuss that when we get to James. So Lisa Faulkner basically this was her role to return to acting. She hadn't done acting for 7 years. She was on a hiatus. She hadn't done any acting for 7 years. So she basically used this as a stepping stone back into acting. She's also continuing to share her recipes on her website. Google her name and it'll pop up. And she's
her husband's a chef, isn't he?
Yes, Greg Turode, is it, from MasterChef? Who I'm presuming they met because she did MasterChef as well. But that's going back. We're looking forward. Yeah. And she's releasing her fourth book, her fourth cookbook, I should say, and it's called From Mother to Mother. So it's worth...
Is that available on Amazon?
I don't know if it's available. It's available on her website, though.
Oh, good.
So would you like that for your...
Well, I'll put a link in the description for everyone. If
you actually...
Yes.
Well, we could do links to a few of these things because there's, if you want to keep up to date with these things. Now, Josh, poor old Josh.
Want to keep up to date with Josh.
We certainly do. He unfairly kind of just chucked into the mud by... Lauren after Abbie's funeral, where he was basically just left by himself as Lauren walked off down the grave.
And no one's mentioned Lauren since she left, so no one even knows where she's gone. Well, maybe she went back with Josh and went to Scotland.
Well, we know what the actress is doing. As a side note,
yes, she started a YouTube channel. She's going to be a YouTube star.
She's a YouTube vlogger, isn't she?
So we watched part 1 of a Q&A that she did, and a bit of part 2, but I couldn't make it to the end.
Couldn't quite make it to the end.
It was too thrilling.
So she's doing some vlogging. She's trying it because she said she wanted a bit of a rest from acting, doesn't she? She's done a bit too long.
She's pregnant as well, so she's done a Q&A first video. Now she's gone on holiday. So there's no video.
Living the life of Riley.
But keep your eyes peeled.
So, but back to Josh, or the actor Eddie Eyre. He's recently tweeted that he's doing some filming in Russia.
Oh, is he?
And he's also announced he is in a new comedy playing Harry Horner in The Country Wife, which is at the Southwark Playhouse on the 4th of April. So he's busy. He's keeping himself very busy.
He is very good.
Again,
he was in Game of Thrones last year.
I was about to say, if we're going to retrospect quickly, he was in Game of Thrones. So yeah, he's keeping up. Everyone's busy. All 3 of them have been busy.
I mean, he is Superman.
And then we get to William Boyd, who I have to say, when I was researching this information of what they were doing now, and I thought, his is going to be full. I'm sure he's going to have his diary full. So as we know, he was raided by the police, and he had a bit of a heart attack. And
the character.
Yes. Sorry, yes, the character. Yes.
Wilmot Brown.
Wilmot Brown had a heart attack, not the actor.
To December.
And as I say, his daughter Fee left him in his hospital bed alone, and basically his whole life crumbling around him. Everything destroyed. His work, his personal life, everything. His health, exactly. So having looked up some information about the actor now, we are now talking about the actor, all I could find was that he was doing some voiceover work. Or continuing to do voiceover work, which is great.
Voice.
He's got a very distinctive voice. On his agent's page, they say that he's best known for his role in EastEnders, but he has done other bits and pieces. He's been in other productions and television shows, but I presume he's just sticking to the voice work.
I've only ever seen him in EastEnders.
I
should get out more.
Get out more.
I mean, we did get out. Is that anyone else on your I'm doing this now?
What? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I'm just wanting to know before I move on.
Yeah, so that was I'm doing this now.
Well, we've still got a bit of I'm doing this now.
Oh, well.
Which is going on to Lorna Fitzgerald.
So, yes, we had a special evening where we got to go and meet Lorna Fitzgerald. Not meet personally, it was a Q&A with Lorna Fitzgerald and Anita Dobson. And it was chaired by Sally from Self Today. Anyone who lives in the area will get that reference. If you don't live in the south of England, you won't get that reference.
In a play called The Shadow Factory, and that's what they were promoting for this evening. But they also spent quite a bit of it talking about EastEnders. which is the reason we were there, of course.
Well, they promoted it to say that you could, talk about the past and present of EastEnders, and they did. They talked about how things, how it's filmed changed, and also about doing live theatre to live television.
Yes, they asked Lorna how, because she said she was terrified on her first night on theatre, didn't she? She was having panic attacks. She was scared, but she's been getting good reviews. She's been getting 4 or 5-star reviews from newspapers.
Well, one audience member was very impressed with her. Ovation of people because they were so impressed with her.
So, because she was asked about being on the live episodes of EastEnders, wasn't she? Mm. And what she thought was more terrifying, the live theatre or the live episodes of EastEnders. Her interviewing techniques.
Well, yes, it was when we were there, we were surprised that she needed a little bit of prompting to talk about herself and whenever a question was posed to her.
I mean, it's because she's grown up in that EastEnders bubble, isn't she? She's been in there since she was young. So I guess she hasn't had much media.
Well, we went
training.
back after the evening. We went back and we looked up interviews she had in the past, and it was quite similar, wasn't it? She looked quite nervous as well to be there. It was a very small and intimate occasion, so it must be quite intimidating to have all these people looking at you and basically hanging on your every word. Anita Dobson was very relaxed. She told a few anecdotes, and she had
years and years and years.
She had some good stories. But Lorna seemed notably quite nervous, and it was new. It was like you say, she's been in this EastEnders bubble such a long time. It was very new for her, but she was great.
Nice. She was friendly.
She was friendly. She was very.
She was Abbie.
She was Abbie. It was like Abbie was there. It was lovely. It was lovely to see her.
Because they were asking them questions about how many scenes they film in a day and things like that, didn't they? They asked her.
Well, the filming
compared it to Anita.
Absolutely, the filming technique has changed between. It was quite interesting with the way it was done. Anita obviously was in the show almost from conception, and she said that they would spend all day rehearsing, which Lorna said, well, no, we have one rehearsal, one line read, one rehearsal, one technical run, I believe, and then we film it. And Anita was saying. We would rehearse all day.
It was like
then
9 till
film.
5, wasn't it?
Yeah, they'd rehearsed in the day, and then in the evening they would actually film the scenes. So it was
till 10.
It was produced very differently. But obviously, then in those days it was only 2 episodes a week. Now it's 4, sometimes 5 episodes a week. So a lot more output needs to be made quickly.
Because she, Anita, obviously played Angie.
Angie Watts,
one of the original characters in EastEnders, and she was telling us a story about how she got cast in the show because she wasn't the original actress.
Yes,
another lady was cast before her, but they found that the chemistry with her and the man who plays Dirty Den, is it Les?
Oh my goodness, we should know this.
I think it's Les.
It's Leslie. Hang on,
Leslie. Yeah,
Leslie
the
Grantham.
man who, yeah. And she said the chemistry wasn't there between the two. So they phoned up Anita Dobson and said, this drama series, because it wasn't called a soap back then, this drama series needs a new actress. And Anita Dobson had just been to the hairdressers. And the hairdresser said, you're so old-fashioned, let me do this. And she covered all her hair with gel, and she put all this gel and scrunched her hair. And Anita was wearing like a 12-piece suit, like a £12 suit, wasn't she?
She recently came into a bit of money, she said, didn't she?
And so she went to the audition just dressed like this, and Julia Smith was there, and she just said, that is Angie, that's the look, that's what we need. And she was hired then, and then I think within 3 days she said she'd filmed and she was on TV,
on television,
millions of people. So
because the output was very quick. And they had to reshoot the scenes, but they also asked her about when she felt it was the right time to leave, and she said, when she handed in a letter, and Julia, the original producer,
she handed a letter saying she wants to leave.
She wanted to leave, and Julia kind of put it in the drawer and said, "Well, let you think about it." Obviously, didn't want this main.
Yeah, she didn't want
character.
it. She wanted Angie to stay, didn't she? She had all these plans for her, and she said, "I'm just going to put that in a drawer. I'm going to forget that even exists, and then come back to me in a year, and we'll talk." And
Leslie got
wind of
this.
This was happening,
and so then he kind of started the cogs turning that he didn't want to stay for too much longer either.
They wanted to
go out together, didn't they? But
it's amazing because she was only in it for a few years, but she's such a iconic character. It's
It was in its heyday, though, wasn't it? Another interesting story she said was the reason why Angie drank neat vodka was because when they would film, the cameraman or producer would signal, this is it
was for a duff, wasn't it?
It was for a duff, and he would signal do a duff, and before she had time to put the mixer in, she
the cameraman was going crazy behind her.
Yeah, signaling. So she just quickly pour this neat. And then drink it.
And that was,
So that's why Angie drank neat vodka.
Since then it was neat vodka.
Yeah, it was always neat vodka for Angie. So, such an iconic character. But then it's heyday. Like you say, it was a drama. The BBC didn't want 30 million viewers. The BBC didn't want to associate it with a soap in them days, is when it was still quite snotty, quite, it didn't. And now it likes the idea of it being a soap because it kind of mixes in with the others. But
one of the audience members asked Lorna about her leaving the show and whether she thought because of the change of executive producer was because of that. And I guess she couldn't really answer 100% honestly because it's a bit frowned upon to say, but the person basically said, do you think you would have had a different exit or wouldn't have been killed off in that way if the executive producers didn't keep changing in the past few years? And she sort of, what did she say? She
was happy that she had like this big end storyline. She said she was pleased.
Yeah. And she was happy that she had lots of stunts throughout the year and explosive storylines and fights and things. But
she liked that her character stopped being this kind of like soft, almost trodden upon character and became a bit more feisty. She liked that. Obviously, if she'd stayed, she probably would have wanted to continue that as her character's growth. The one thing she did point out was that she wished she had her eyebrows done while she was
in a coma. Yeah,
in her coma.
They said, the lady interviewing said, "Oh, well, did you watch your final ever episodes? Because you played this character Abbie for years. You were Abbie. You'd been in her head for 12 years. Were you sad when you saw Abbie was died?" And she said, "No, not really. Not really.
Not really. I wish I had my eyebrows done."
She said, "The one thing I thought when I was watching it is, I wish I had my eyebrows done."
which is
and that was
honest,
that, and that was the end of the evening. Basically, that's how it ended on a high.
It did.
So,
but it was
interesting.
It was very interesting to hear them talk about their time of EastEnders and how different it was. Obviously, they talked about their play as well. But it was interesting to hear their perspective of how EastEnders was made,
and how different it is from when she was in it in the beginning to how it's
now viewed and is now. But one other thing I just took out of it was Lorna would said that when they asked, what was it like in the theatre, she said in a theatre when they did the live episode, that's it, the live episode, everyone was really quiet and nervous and no one really spoke to one another. There was only a few people around, and there was only a few people around. While in the theatre, when she does the theatre, she liked the fact that there's a kind of atmosphere and everyone's kind of in it together and all the actors are very jolly, and it's a much different way of doing things. They also asked Lorna what she'd like to do after the play's finished in the future, and she said films, movies, and she was almost shot down, which I thought was a bit cruel.
I know.
And then she said she'd like to be in Call the Midwife,
or Strictly.
Yes, that was asked as well. So there you go. This is prediction for Strictly.
I think she'd be good in something like a thriller, like Dr. Foster, or something like that, playing like a slightly crazy girlfriend or ex or something.
I'd like her to carry on down the path of doing theatre though, because I think it will cut her teeth and she'll be able to get her confidence up and then think about maybe going back in television. I think television would be a bit too safe an option for her. But if she's ever down this way again,
say no to work.
Well, no, you should never say no to work. But I think that if she's offered theatre, she should stick to theatre. But yes, Strictly Come Dancing. That's what I think we're going to see her in September in a sparkly dress.
Okay, so I want to we've got a bit more to talk about. We're running out of time, so want to quickly touch upon Mel and Hunter and opening of R&R very quickly, before we talk about all the Aiden and Carter stuff.
Fair enough. It's E20.
It is. Well, it was going to be Phoenix.
It was going to be called Phoenix because it came out from the Flames. Which I remember when she said it. I thought, okay. But then Hunter, behind Mel's back, got the original logo sign as well, the neon blue E20 sign. How did he know that? He must have seen an old flyer in there or something, I guess.
Maybe Tiffany looked it up on Wikipedia.
Maybe.
She's good at that.
She's good at that. She's good on the internet. One thing that stood out I think it was Thursday's episode, because that was Thursday's episode pretty much centred around it, was just Jack basically sticking his nose
sniffing around the blonde,
sniffing around all the time. The scene where he was in the office trying to bond with Hunter, I remember saying at the time, this is a reference to a program called Dark Place, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And whenever Garth spoke to the character Dean Lerner, Thornton Reed, I think he was called in the program, they would talk like this, really quietly under their breath, almost like they're exhaling while they're talking to one another, but they're trying to show fake sympathy. And that's how Jack did it the whole scene. It's just fake sympathy.
Acting class 101.
It's the whole scene. It was just feigned sympathetic talking, and it was almost like Hunter got sucked in. But I think now Hunter knows that Jack's up to something, because at the end of it, there was the look. Because Jack was told to go away by Mel. Look. Yes, exactly. The actor they've cast, when he was in the shirt and the tie and his hair was slicked back, that was fantastic. Honestly,
he looked like his dad, didn't he?
It really was like a reflection of his dad. So brilliant. Kudos to the casting crew there. But yeah, so Jack was told by Mel to basically go away, because she basically called him out and said, like, everywhere I turn you're there, you're like a bad smell, please go away.
That's how we all feel.
Which is how which is how he kind of watched on as she agreed that, because she wasn't happy about the name being E20, one, because she loved the name Phoenix, but two, she didn't really want it associated with Steve Owen, but she agreed to it in the end because it's her son Hunter, and she
also went on the hunt for Billy to be the manager and gave him a job of finding a bodyguard.
Well, Billy was there sleeping and urinating in orange juice bottles, and
like a few scenes earlier, Kush was talking to Martin, saying, "Oh, I'm going to go away for a while to see my cousin and his son," or whatever it was. And obviously, I think that was because Kush is probably doing the Strictly Come Dancing tour while that was being filmed, so he has to have a bit of a break in acting. But then, like a few scenes later, Billy suddenly got him to apply for a job as a bodyguard. Yeah, out of nowhere. I don't know if that was just cut in recently, but one thing that I thought of. Kush has a heart condition from last year.
Oh, yeah, so he can't do too much heavy work.
Can he be a bouncer?
Yeah. Is he going to be up to the job?
So it's all, yeah. So I think that was cut in a bit last minute.
It's cut into this is why you need to do a medical form when you're applying for a job, Mel. Yeah. You need to think of these things.
Has he even asked Mel how much she's getting paid?
Well, but
does Sharon have any?
But this is it. No. Sharon's had no influence whatsoever. It's like it's still essentially it is Sharon's club, isn't it? Well, it's Phil's club, and why is Sharon not being included with any of these decisions, like the name of the club?
Because I remember last time it opened, when Sharon was opening it, she was walking around in the background with clipboards and boxes everywhere and ordering people to do things. Nowhere to be seen now.
Well, she's busy at home with her feet up. She didn't want to get. Well, this is why she gave it to Mel. She didn't want to get her hands dirty. She just wanted.
Well, I don't know what they're doing with Letitia Dean, because
it's gone very quiet,
very odd.
But quickly going back to Kush, why is he working all day on the stall and then he must have to get up at 5-6 in the morning to work in the market, and then he's working all night. So
I don't know if he's getting rid of the market. I don't know.
Maybe. I suppose there's not a huge demand of fashion in the street.
Flammable fashion.
Yes, flammable fashion.
Maybe he's closing his store down before he gets sued by...
Before he gets raided. Everyone's getting raided. But poor old Denise won't get to see him either.
Well, she's busy with Kim.
Well, might be busy with Kim. We don't know that. But yeah, so yes, that's interesting. But I'm glad they're reopening the club, because I now that the Albert is closed because it's been sold off to Aiden, they need a second location. They can't just have everything happening in like sociably in the Queen Vic in the evening.
Will the Vic be open for much longer?
Well,
that's what we've got to talk
they have to all
about.
go to the night cafe, won't they?
That's our last topic. This episode is about the Carter storyline with Aiden and the continuing drug raids that's happening.
Well, the one they're selling drugs in the toilet because Aiden says that the Carters owe a debt to him because he doesn't believe that they just happened to fall upon £250,000.
You could always ask Fee.
We don't know. He's off promoting a fourth book, and so Linda had enough. Tried to all week they've been trying to reason with Aiden to no avail, and so Linda had enough and knocked it on the head. Called the police. It made it very obvious that she called the police because when they just before they raided, and the guy who'd been nursing a pint for about 5 hours left the pub, she went, "Where are you going?"
and followed him in front of Aiden.
Exactly. So it made it very obvious that that someone had dobbed it in. And so then Mick kind of said that when confronted by Aiden, Mick said that it was him, and then Cheryl said it was her, and then Shirley, and then Linda said it was her. And as Aiden quite rightly referenced, it was like something from I, Claudius. It was like I'm Claudius. So now Aiden's pretty miffed, and
he's threatened to mess up Linda's face, kill Mick.
Yeah.
It's all not looking good for Aiden.
Well, he's also threatened with the kids, hasn't he? Because he said that
he knows where they all are.
He knows where they were. And he kind of mentioned, I can get someone to do this to them and this to wherever each location.
Well, it sounds like he had someone in on the police as well, because he knew that the phone call came from within the Vic. So he must have someone working on the inside of the police force.
Well, the guy who got arrested could have, maybe when they were questioning him, the police said, "Oh, we got internal intel from inside the Vic," so maybe it got referred to from that.
I mean, we know his wife, the other Irish blonde lady.
It's his ex-wife, isn't it?
His ex-wife. She has someone in the force because she shut down that police investigation on Christmas Eve.
Oh yeah. So.
Who knows? Because Aiden also gave Keanu a job to do.
Yes, to hide something in to hide a box which has something in it, which no one knows what's in it, but two people know on the square. Keanu looked in it, and so did Jay. So Jay and Keanu are both in it together, and Jay has agreed to do it for Keanu. Is it just me, or was there like slight sexual undertones between Jay and Keanu? Like they're always
because you want there to be.
No, not. But it's like they always seem to be in a.
Well, I think what they're doing is trying to pair Jay up with someone. Now that Ben's gone, Abbie's gone.
Yeah, but why is it?
He can be paired up with Keanu, and Keanu can.
Well, he's now got this secret together, haven't they? So Keanu has shared the secret with Jay.
And Keanu also helped him when Jay got punched.
Yes, because of Jay was like having to go with the drug dealer. They're slowly bonding. But it's but it was good that Keanu. It was good that a character actually, instead of hiding it and kind of denying any information and just leaving it, they actually opened up, and so there's this, like you say, there's this secret now between them. But we don't know what's in the box. Now, my theory is that there's a body part in that box.
Could be a body part to Luke Browning.
There you go. So it could be his it's quite a small box.
Yeah,
so obviously it's not
thumb
like
or a toe or a
thumb
tongue
or a toe, yeah,
or an
eye. An eye.
Ear. I don't know.
That's a bit gruesome. But it's not. So it's not like Seven, the film Seven, where it's like the head of someone. But yeah, no, I reckon it's something. But then why would you want to bury that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess, but again, obviously, yeah, it's going to be it's being
a photograph.
Yeah, maybe. But then Jay seemed
shocked.
Not shocked, but yeah, it's almost as if Jay knew what it was. So if it was a photograph, I don't think he would know how to reference how it would be referenced. So yeah, so that's obviously something that's going to be buried and dug back up again. at some point when the Aiden storyline kind of becomes so the basically the number of suspects continue to grow for Aiden's death storyline. Who did it
in the future?
So
hasn't been confirmed, but
hasn't it? I thought it was
no, it's just one of our theories.
Oh, it's just our theory. Oh, great.
Weekly.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. EastEnders Weekly theory of the week. Yeah. So
every week,
weekly, our weekly theories. But so he's obviously winding up the Carters, who are basically the backbone of the square. So obviously there's going to be a crescendo at some point involving them. But I don't know. He's demanding the money on the beginning of next week. So the first step, how they're going to stretch it out if they don't have the money. It'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with
if
that.
it does end up in a who killed Aiden, who done it, what would your theory right now? Just
right now,
off the top of your head,
it'd be either Mick.
You think it would be Mick?
Well, it would either,
if you had to put a bet on who the actual person is.
It would either be Mick or Kim's
Vincent.
Or Vincent. Yeah, it'd either be Mick or Vincent. There you go. There's a clean one for you. that if I had to, there'd definitely be one of them two. But
my bet would be Shirley.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
But she.
Mick and Vincent, that's too obvious. It has to be someone a bit.
Yeah, but I don't think Shirley. I think Shirley's all.
She'd protect her son, and
she's all bark and no bite. Is Shirley?
It would be one of the women. It would be Shirley, Sharon, or Mel.
It wouldn't be Sharon. It definitely wouldn't be Sharon. It might be Mel, because they always bring someone back for a reason. I'd like
Linda.
I'd like it to be Linda. Now I'm thinking about it. If it's going to be if they're writing it right now and they're thinking it needs to be a female, I'd like it to be Linda. I'd like Linda to have a bit of a, because she's got such a horrible history since joining, being in EastEnders.
And on the last episode, quickly reference before we go, is her little catchphrase, "Get out of my pub."
Get out of my pub. Yes, where
is she the next Peggy?
Again, nice slow fade, as she said. I know that it's almost obvious that they would be referencing it, but I wish when they shot that scene, when they showed her saying "Get out of the pub," I wish they showed if they blurred the background and you just saw the picture of Peggy in the background, almost as if Peggy's
on her shoulder.
That's something. Right, almost as if Peggy is looking over her as she says it. I would have liked that.
Yeah, So that was this week's roundup. Obviously, lots of exciting things to go through. If you have any topics or questions you want to talk to us about, you can email us at eastendersweekly@gmail.com. Please remember to subscribe and review us, because it really helps us out and get the word around.
And also, don't forget, when EastEnders is on television, actually live tweets during the show at EastEnders Week.
Yep.
And follow us on Instagram as well.
Lots of sarcastic live tweeting.
Lots of fun.
Throughout the episode.
It's tongue in cheek and it's done in a good humour, because we do love the show, or else we wouldn't talk about it.
Exactly. So see you next week. Bye.
Bye.